Alhamdulillahi wa kafa wa salamun ala ibadihi allazina astafa amma ba'd. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. فلما أحس عيسى منهم الكفر قال من أنصاري إلى الله قال الحواريون نحن أنصار الله آمنا بالله واشهد بأننا مسلمون ربنا آمنا بما أنزلت واتبعنا الرسول فاكتبنا مع الشاهدين سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Sayyidina Isa a miraculous birth. Along with that birth, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave many and several miracles to Sayyidina Isa. For example, Sayyidina Isa, he would fashion a bird-like creature out of clay, a likeness of a bird, and then with the izn of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it would become a living bird. He would be able to raise the dead with the permission of Allah. And he was also informed about what people would eat and what they would store at their homes. So with these miracles, Sayyidina Isa, he called the Bani Israel, his community, to accept Tawheed, to believe in him, to believe in the Injil that was revealed upon him by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But his community, they refused to accept despite his repeated efforts. And they only became more stubborn. Eventually they started mocking him. And finally, they also made a plan to kill Sayyidina Isa. So when Sayyidina Isa, he sensed that these people, they're not going to believe. So he announced that who will help me, who will assist me in this task of propagating the message of Islam, propagating the message of Allah Ta'ala. And upon this, they were a group which we can understand as the Sahaba of Sayyidina Isa. So this verse number 52 of Surah Imran, we have the beginning of this discussion of the Sahaba of Sayyidina Isa and what they said to Sayyidina Isa, and then onwards we will see that how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved Sayyidina Isa from the planning and the plotting of those who wanted to kill him. So the verse 52, it begins that فَلَمَّا أَحَسَّ إِيسَى مِنْهُمُ الْكُفْرَ, that when Sayyidina Isa he sensed disbelief from them, when he became aware of unbelief on their part, that they would be stubborn, that they would not believe in his message, and then in fact they wanted to kill him. So qala, he said, man ansari ilallah, that who are my supporters for the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who will be my helpers. Ansar comes from the word nasara. Nasara means to help. That who will be my helpers, like for example the Ansar Medina Munawwara, they are known as the helpers who helped the Prophet when he came to Medina Tayyibah, and also helped the Muhajirun who migrated. So Ansar, Ansari, who are my helpers on this journey to help the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ilallah means that when you help the deen of Allah, it is equal and tantamount to helping Allah Ta'ala himself. qala al-hawariyuna. So this, you can say the disciples of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, this word, so this is coming now, hawariyun. Hawariyun is the name of the mukhlis sahaba of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. Those sincere people who believed in Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, they're known as the hawariyun. So his mukhlis sahaba, they responded and they said that nahnu ansarullah, that we will be the support, we are the supporters for Allah. So if the Sahaba of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam are called Ansarullah, yani the helpers of Allah in the Quran, so then the Sahaba of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they're all the more worthy of being viewed, each and every one of them, as Ansarullah, as the helpers of Allah. So this word Hawariyun that comes here, this word is derived from the word hur, the root word hur, which means white. And because of their fair complexion, that's why they were referred to as hur. And not only that, but they were also washermen by occupation. They used to wash clothes and they used to be paid for washing the clothes of others. So because they used to, that was their occupation, and because their own clothing was also white, that's why they were known as Hawariyun. And similarly, the Mufassirin have mentioned that not only were their skin, yani fair complexion, and not only were their clothes white, but also their hearts were clean, their character was pure, and that is why they were known as Hawariyun. So multiple interpretations about why they were known as why they were given this laqab as Hawariyun. But all in all, the summary is that these were the sincere, the pure, mukhlis sahaba of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salatu wassalam. And riwayat mentioned that they were 12 in number. They were people who believed in Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. They declared their commitment to assist and help in the teaching of this deen. And that's why they're referred to here as the Ansarullah. Now, helping the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a tremendous sa'adat. It's a tremendous kubuliyah that Allah ta'ala chooses, because we cannot help on our own. Allah ta'ala accepts, Allah ta'ala selects and chooses individuals, and then Allah ta'ala uses them for the cause of His deen. And this is a tremendous favor from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those who dedicate and devote their lives to serving the cause of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are viewed as the beloveds of Allah. Allah ta'ala views them with a special love, with a special mercy, with a special favor. And what is that special love that Allah ta'ala displays for those who help the deen of Allah? In Quran elsewhere, Allah ta'ala mentions that in tansurullah, that if you help Allah, again, if you help the deen of Allah, serve the deen of Allah, then yansurukum, Allah ta'ala will help you. Allah will help you, Allah will assist you, and وَيُثَبِّتْ أَقْدَامَكُمْ, Allah ta'ala will firmly establish your feet upon the face of this earth. What that means is that whatever you need to be firmly established in this dunya, any dunyavi, worldly, from a worldly perspective, whatever things and needs and necessities you have, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give those things to you. So for example, if a person needs a house to become established, or a car, or a job, or any other such thing which is of worldly nature, these things are needed because the times that we live in, you cannot be established in the dunya if you don't have these basic necessities. So the promise that Allah Ta'ala is making in the Quran is that whoever helps the deen of Allah, Allah Ta'ala will help them, and Allah Ta'ala will also take care of their worldly needs. So this is a very big honor, and this should also be our intention, that along with whatever profession and whatever career and whatever occupation we are engaged in, we should have this further intention that I want to help the deen of Allah in whatever way I can. I want to serve the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet said that don't make your homes like graveyards. A graveyard, a home that is a graveyard is that home in which the work of deen is not being done. So we should make our homes places where the work of deen is being done, where the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's deen is being served. And inshallah, then our homes will truly be alive. Our homes will have barakah. Our homes will have blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us this ni'mat that we have the comfort, we have free time, we have intelligence, we should use all of those abilities in order to serve the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to whatever degree we can. And it's very easy. It's very easy that we learn our deen ourselves. We learn our deen and then we try to teach and share those teachings of deens with other people as well. For the sake of dunya, we make sacrifices day in and day out. So, for the sake of attaining worldly education, we are able to make so much sacrifices. So, in order to get something in deen, learn deen, and then share these teachings with other people, deen is all about ajr. Deen is ajr. It's just reward upon reward. If you make any sacrifice for the cause of the deen of Allah, then it's going to be rewarding. It's going to bring kubuliyah to that person. And there is also another benefit that if our homes become places in which we are doing work of deen, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will also inshallah accept our children, our progeny, our awlad. Allah ta'ala will make this deen flow in our progeny till ila yawmiddin. So we should have this intention that we learn the ta'limat, the teachings of our deen ourselves, and then also have this further intention that we want to share these teachings with other and we want to do work of deen. And we present our niyat and our dua to Allah Ta'ala that, oh Allah, accept me for this ilm and amal on this deen and then also khidmat of this deen. And if we do this, then inshallah in return Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will build for us a palace in Jannah. Allah Ta'ala will build for us a palace in Jannat. This is real intelligence, that you make an investment for akhirah. All of us, we make investments for the dunya, for our old age, but real intelligence is to make investment for our akhirah. An investment in akhirah is that you use your homes, your abilities to do work of deen. Here you're doing work of deen, there in Jannat your plot is being allotted to you. Allah Ta'ala is allotting a piece of land to you. Allah Ta'ala is allotting a building to you. Allah Ta'ala is allotting a home and a castle, a palace there for you. It's being constructed for you there in Jannat. There is a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said that when a person does work of deen, yani they're serving the deen of Allah, then at that time the angels, they start constructing a house for him in Jannat. And they continue until at one point they stop building that house. So then the other angels, they ask that, why did you stop? So the angels, they reply, the first group, that the raw material that we were getting, that has finished. The raw material, what they meant by that was the work of deen. That initially he was doing work of deen. Now this person has stopped, and that's why the raw material has stopped. That's why the buildings and palaces in Jannat have stopped. And in another hadith Mubarakah, it comes that those people, when we look at the sky and we see the stars shining in the sky, stars to give beauty, zenith to the sky, in the same way when the creation, the makhluk of Allah in the sky and the angels, when they look down upon the face of this earth, then those homes in which the work of deen is being done, where Quran is being taught, where Hadith is being taught, where the work of deen, people are talking about the love for Allah, about the fikr of deen, those homes in which the work of deen is being done, they shine like stars. They shine like stars Just like the stars shine for us, in the same way, our homes, they shine like stars for the angels in the heavens. So we should try to make our homes like shining stars on the face of this earth. So we should make this dua to Allah Ta'ala, that Allah accept us for this work, that we can also be Ansarullah. We can also, this is not the maqam of only the Anbiya alayhi salam, even non-prophets. Look at here. These are non-prophets. The Ansar of the Prophets are also non-prophets. This is something which is attainable, achievable. We can be the helpers, we can be Ansarullah. We should make that dua, and then also we should make that himmat, the determination, that effort, and be able to make sacrifices on this path. And always we should remember this principle that with sacrifices comes kubuliyat. Qurbani se kubuliyat milti hai. The two qaf. That through sacrifice, the more you sacrifice, the more kubuliyat and acceptance Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you. So we should never hesitate from making sacrifices for the sake of our deen, because the more you sacrifice, more rewarding would be. We should be looking forward. Should be our desire in our heart, that I want to sacrifice as much as I can. Because what am I getting in return? Ajr, ajr, ajr. Reward from Allah, kubuliyat from Allah, mahbubiyat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make all of us Ansarullah. Allah ta'ala grant us tawfiq that we can also dedicate and devote our lives to the service of our deen, of to the khidmat of our deen. So the Sahaba of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, they said that Nahnu Ansarullah and Amanna Billahi. We have believed in Allah. Washhad bi anna Muslimun. And we testify, we give shahada that indeed we are Muslims. Muslims. Muslim. Again, this is Muslim in a general way means that we are submitting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Muslim. That's the literal meaning of the word, that you submit to the wishes of Allah Ta'ala. So they said this. And they said that we want, yani they're addressing Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam and saying that we want to make you a witness that we are Muslimun and that we are submitting completely to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So all the Anbiya alayhi salatu wassalam, the people who believed on those Anbiya alayhi salatu wassalam, in one sense, all of them are Muslim. They're Muslim in the sense that they're submitting completely to the will and the wish of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then they made dua. And this is also the adab, right? That first you declare you praise Allah Ta'ala, you testify to the tawheed of Allah, you show your commitment to the deen of Islam, you show commitment that you make tawbah from the past way, and that you have recited the kalama of Iman, and that you have submitted completely to Allah Ta'ala. And then after that, you then turn to Allah Ta'ala and make tawbah, because now the mercy of Allah Ta'ala is over you. Now Allah Ta'ala is rahmat, is more focused on you, intensely focused on you. So there is a greater chance that the dua that you will make now will be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So then they made this dua that Rabbana amanna bima anzalta, that, oh our Lord, we have believed in what you revealed. We believe in what you revealed. وَاتَّبَعْنَا الرَّسُولَ, and we have followed the messenger. Here messenger means Sayyidina Isa alayhi salatu wassalam. فَاكْتُبْنَا مَعَ الشَّاهِدِينَ, so write our names among those who are witnesses to the truth. This is a dua that me and you, we can also make. You can also make this dua. And when you begin this dua, you can say that, oh Allah Ta'ala, I have nothing to offer to you. I have no amal, no action that is worthy of being presented to you. I have nothing that I can offer to you. But here I'm at your doorstep like a beggar. I'm at your doorstep like a person who's deprived, like a person who has nothing. was being robbed of everything that he had. Shaitan and nafs, they robbed me. Whatever I had because of riya, insincerity, hypocrisy, nifaq, laziness, nafs, shaitan, all these things, all these enemies have robbed me of anything good that I ever did. So I'm here completely empty, completely deprived, at a loss, having nothing with me. But Ya Allah, I'm presenting my kalama shahada to you. I have this kalama in my heart. I have iman in my heart, and I'm presenting this kalama to you that, oh Allah, I believe in you, and I believe in Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam to be my Nabi. So faktubna ma'ashahidin. So now Allah, write my name amongst the people of Shahada. Raise me up among the people of Shahada. Give me a life of people of Shahada. Give me a death like the people of Shahada. And raise me up on the day of Qiyamah among the people of Shahada. And then Allah accept my du'as. So we also make this dua to Allah Ta'ala by presenting our kalima and then making du'as to Allah Ta'ala. So فَاكْتُبْنَا مَعَ الشَّاهِدِينَ وَمَكَرُوا وَمَكَرَ اللَّهُ. Now what happened is when Sayyidina Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, he gave this da'wah, the enmity of the Jews, it increased because people started to believe in Sayyidina Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. He had more followers, his followers began to grow. So on the other hand, their enmity, the Jews, their enmity also started to increase. And then finally, they decided to, na'uzubillah, murder Sayyidina Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. So for that, what they did is, now we are sort of fast forwarding, right? We don't get too much information about the life of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, how he gave dawah. This is like fast forwarding towards the end. The Jews are now plotting to murder Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. They're upset, didn't accept. So other than those few people who were the Hawariyun, the other community, what did they do? Wa makaru. They did makar. They planned. And what was their plan? Their plan was to kill Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. And for that, what they did was that they had Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam imprisoned in a house, and one of the lead person came and was guarding the door. But when their time for execution came, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is now the other part, wa makaru, they planned to kill Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, but wa makar Allah, Allah ta'ala also planned. Allah ta'ala also planned. So when the time of execution came, Allah ta'ala plotted by substituting a likeness of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam in his place. And Allah ta'ala changed the looks of that person who was the main person, who was guarding that door, guarding the house. And Allah ta'ala made that person look and resemble like Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. And as a result of that, people took him and he was led to be executed. He was led to be executed. So this is what Allah Ta'ala, this is what this is referring to. That وَمَكَرُوا وَمَكَرَ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best of planners. Allah Ta'ala is the best of plotters. So in Urdu, this word makar means bad. It's used in a negative context. But in Arabic, the word makar is neutral. It doesn't mean good or bad. Obviously, the unbelievers, they did their evil plotting and planning. They were making these conspiracy to murder. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did the proper planning and deciding. So what does this mean here? It means that, and this is going to come now next ayat also, that Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, he did not die. He was not crucified. He would be raised up alive by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is part of our aqidah, and I'm going to show this to you clearly from the Quran as well, there is some people who deny this aqidah. If you go back a few generations, so Sir Sayyid Ahmad Khan was one of them who denied this aqidah. Then the even today, the Qadiani, they deny this aqidah, and some reformist and modernist and progressives, they also deny this aqidah. And they try to take a purely rationalist approach, an exclusively rationalist approach to the Quran. Because if you take that exclusively rationalist approach to Quran, then, well, it's non-rational for a human being not to die. Because your rationality will tell you that every human being dies. And it's non-rational for anyone to suggest that a human being would not die and he would be raised up alive to Allah Ta'ala. But if you think about this closely, that if you are being raised up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then what? How does rationality even enter that place, right? Rationality can only judge things that lie within the realm of rational, right? The matter of a Nabi of Allah Ta'ala being raised up by Allah, that's an amal of Allah. That's Allah Ta'ala's actions. Allah Ta'ala's actions are not confined to my akal or your akal or to anyone's akal, to any human akal, to him, to any human concept of what akal is, or to any human concept of what rational is, what logical is. Allah Ta'ala's actions are not confined to our human concepts of rationality. So it's a big mistake, right, that these people made when they tried to judge the actions of Allah Ta'ala based on human concepts of rationality. Allah Ta'ala actions are trans-rational. We don't say they're rational or irrational, they transcend rationality. They're supra-rational. They're supra-rational. So, and sometimes it happens, right? The person makes a mistake, and they make a mistake either because of their own ignorance or because of their arrogance, or sometimes thinking that they're more intelligent than the previous mufassirin. And when they make a mistake, then Allah Ta'ala makes that sabab for an even bigger mistake. So these reformists and modernists, when they made this mistake and they used the rationality, like people like Sir Sayyid Ahmad Khan, when they took that rational, exclusive rationalist approach, and they used that to deny that no human being, Sayyidina Isa al-Islam, could not be raised up and he is not alive with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We made that mistake, but then that opened up the door for another greater mistake for someone like Mirza Ghulam Qadiani to come and say that I am Isa. To say I am Masih. That Sayyidina Isa al-Islam is not the Messiah, he is dead, he wasn't raised up to Allah. In other words, he said that the Messiah, the promised Messiah, he said that I am the promised Messiah. I am the promised, I'm that person who's promised to come back. So Sayyidina Isa al-Islam, he is not raised alive to Allah Ta'ala. He is not going to come back as the promised Messiah. He is dead, like Sir Sayyid Ahmad Khan said. Right? And then he said that I'm the one and I'm here before you. So believe in me. So when, this is what happens. When people leave the deen of Allah Ta'ala, they try to misuse and hijack the Quran, then the later people will come and they will come up with even more crazy things. Right? It's a downward spiral. It's a slippery slope. Then when you are loose about one and make a mistake there about your belief, and this is not just hukum, this is about not ruling. This is a matter of aqidah. When you make a mistake here, it opens the door for other people to come and then hijack Quran and come up with crazy things. So, wa makar Allah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he planned. So we don't have details here, but in Surah Nisa, verse number 157, there Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us a few details. So I will just very quickly make this transition here and share with you as well. All right. So this is Surah Nisa, Surah number 4, verse number 157. وَقَوْلِهِمْ إِنَّا قَتَلْنَا الْمَسِيحَ عِيسَى ابْنَ مَرْيَمَ رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. And as for their saying that indeed we have killed the Messiah, Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam was the son of Maryam, Allah Ta'ala says, وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ. Such clear words that they did not kill him. وَمَا صَلَبُوهُ. Nor did they crucify him. وَلَكِنْ. However, what happened? What's the real thing that happened? شُبِّهَ لَهُمْ. But there was another person, and I mentioned that the guard was appointed to protect the door. So that person, that another person was made to resemble Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam to them. And to the people who came to murder Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, they found the guard and the guard resembled Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. This is what happened. وَإِنَّ الَّذِينَ اخْتَلَفُوا فِيهِ لَفِي شَكٍّ مِّنْهِ. And indeed, those who differ over it are in doubt about it. Acha, what is this ayat referring to? Right? That there is some ikhtilaf that they had, or there is some doubt that they had when they came. So what happened is that this one person was the only person. When the people came and saw that, this only one person here, and Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam was raised up alive to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they find this one person who's resembling like Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, so they killed him. But the doubt still lingered in their minds that what about that guard, right? We left that guard to protect the door. Where is he? So there's this lingering doubt that they had. So about that doubt, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning here that first they never killed him, they never crucified him, and another was made to resemble him, and then indeed those who differ over it are in doubt about this. So in this way, the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala proved true. They have no knowledge of it. مَا لَهُمْ بِهِ مِنْ عِلْمٍ إِلَّا اتِّبَاءَ الظَّنِّ. They have no knowledge of it except that they're following just an assumption, their opinion, their rai. وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ يَقِينًا. And they did not kill him for certain. Yani, they don't have certainty, they just guman. It's just their opinion, it's just their assumption. That's what they're assuming. But in reality, in certainty, they haven't killed Sayyidina Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. All right. So makar Allah Ta'ala planned and Allah Ta'ala saved Sayyidina Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. So this is teaching us a very beautiful teaching about our deen, that if you keep your gaze fixed on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then no matter what the other person is doing against you or planning against you, they're trying to murder you, trying to execute you, or trying to harass you, or making plans against you. But if you keep your gaze on Allah, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be your helper. And Allah Ta'ala will help you against all the strategies that they're devising against you. This is what happened here to Sayyidina Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. This is also what you see in the Sunnah of Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. The unbelievers, the mushrikeen in Makkah, they planned and they plotted and they devised their strategies to, na'uzubillah, kill the Prophet sallallahu and to expel the Prophet sallallahu and did so many things. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved the Prophet from all of those strategies. And there also a similar phrase is used that وَمَا they planned, وَمَا Allah, Allah ta'ala planned. وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. Allah truly is the best of planners. Sometimes it happens that And now, not just at a very mundane level, right? It happens that you might be working in a place, or you might be in a situation where there are some people who are hostile to you. They're against you. They're hostile. They have malice or some kind of evil intention against you, but they don't display that on their face. Outwardly, they act as if they're your friends, your acquaintance, your well-wishers, but then inwards they're making these plans and plots against you. And as human beings, we may not be able to know entirely what the real situation is. We just judge people by their appearance, that they're, this person is wishing well for me, so that is what he is. But we don't know what's happening inside his life and what the real thing is thinking about us. So what about that? Allah Ta'ala mentions in the Quran that Allah Ta'ala knows your a'da. Allahu a'lamu bi a'da'ihim. That Allah Ta'ala knows who your real enemies are. And if a person truly has taqwa in their heart, if a person truly has piety, taqwa, they abstain from sin, and they have sabr, two attributes, sabr and taqwa, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will always help them. Allah ta'ala will never allow the disbelievers, the unbelievers, your enemies to overtake you, to overpower you. So this is again one of the barakat of taqwa. The more taqwa we have in our life, the more protection we will have of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is such an incredible protection where Allah ta'ala becomes your protector. And then you don't need anyone else. You don't need anything else. You don't need even any other strategy. This is the real strategy, that you try to adopt taqwa and hand over your affairs to Allah Ta'ala. Allah Ta'ala will automatically protect you. The system of Allah Ta'ala is automatic. All we need to do is just make ourselves muttaqi, and then Allah Ta'ala will assist us, will help us, will protect us. And even when we may not know who is our enemy, Allah Ta'ala knows, and Allah Ta'ala will protect us against them. Allah will never allow them to dominate us, overpower us. But the reason why we are dominated by other people, whether individually or at the level of a community or at the level of an ummah, is because we haven't truly become true Muslims. We haven't become muttaqi individuals. We don't have taqwa in our life. We still are engaged in sins. We like our dunya. We like the muhabbat of dunya. We don't want to leave this muhabbat of dunya. We don't want to make this sacrifice, that we don't want to make this trade. Leaving dunya, the muhabbat of dunya is too difficult for us. And when we have this attachment to the dunya, whether it's the Rolex watch or the latest car or the biggest mansion, this muhabbat of the dunya, ra'su kulli khati'atin. This is the source of all corruption, fasad. It's the source of such uh, uh, deadly diseases of the heart, where you are envious of other people. And by being envious of what other people have, you lose your own good deeds, and you spend your entire dunya, your entire life here in this dunya, in a state of bechani, in a state of be'itminani, in a state of discomfort, in a state of restlessness, anxiety, that I have this, I only have this, why don't I have that and that and that? And person spends their whole life in that state of restlessness. And if a person, let's say, is given something, a rank or a position or some nemat, then we fall prey to arrogance, that as if I truly deserving of this nemat, and this nemat belongs to me, this position belongs to me, and this we begin to attribute these things to ourselves, and we forget that all of this is given by Allah. And this is not the mark of superiority. This is not the mark that we should congratulate ourselves and think that we are better than others. And sometimes it goes even further than that. We start treating other people as inferior to us, and we begin to display that arrogance as well to others. We treat them in such a way which is inferior. We act in a superior way, and this is all kibr. It's takabbur, something which is so deadly that if a person has a drop of arrogance in their heart, they will not be able to enter into Jannah. It's a deadly disease in that sense. And these diseases are there with us, are within us, are widespread among us, the Muslims. And this is the reason why. Because of these sins, we haven't been able to get this madad of Allah. We feel that everywhere, wherever you look, Muslims are subjugated, they are oppressed, they're persecuted, and other other communities and other individuals are overpowering us, and we don't seem to have a way out. And at the level of asbab, there is no way out. But at the level of the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then there is a way that is out for us. There is a way out for us. There is an exit. And the name of that exit is taqwa. That if we have taqwa in our heart, in our lives, every aspect of our life, this is another, not just taqwa in the masjid, not just taqwa when it comes to fasting in the month of Ramadan, but taqwa in every aspect of our life, whether it's Ramadan or Ghair Ramadan, whether it's in the masjid or Ghair Masjid, it's whether in our offices or on the grocery store or in our homes, with our family, with our parents, with our kids, with our spouse. Taqwa applies to every aspect of our life. It applies to all our relationships, not just relationship with Allah, but also how we interact with other people, how we trade with other people, how we conduct our transactions with other people. Do we cheat, or do we understand that Allah is watching and we should not cheat? Do I take an interest bearing do I open up an interest bearing account in a bank, or do I save myself from riba, an interest that is so widespread in our community? Uh, these are things that we should be focusing on. This is the exit strategy. This is the strategy really for the revival of the Ummah, for the revival of, of Islam, for the revival of Deen within our life, first and foremost. And inshallah, if we revive this attribute of taqwa, then Allah Ta'ala's promises, they don't change. Allah Ta'ala's promises are eternal. They're laid down, and whoever does what Allah wants them to do, then they can see the truth of those promises with their own eyes. It's like empirical science, right? That if you do this, you will see that result. It doesn't need to be proved to you. You will experientially understand the truth of that statement because you will experience the truth of that statement. All you need to do is just do amal, just act, just bring taqwa, and then see how those promises to become true for you, how the barakat they come back into your life, how you can get the hifazat of Allah Ta'ala. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable all of us that we can adorn ourselves with the sifat of taqwa. Wallahu khairul makirin. Allah Ta'ala truly is the best of planners. May Allah Ta'ala give us yaqeen that truly Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best of planners. Allah Ta'ala has better knowledge than any of the planners of the world. And Allah Ta'ala's planning and strategy is better than any other strategy that any person can devise. Then next is a qala, that you remember that time is qala Allahu ya Isa, and then remember when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that, O Isa, now here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying what Allah ta'ala did. And I want you to, this is a very important ayah that I want you to understand very carefully. This ayah here, Allah ta'ala will definitively, clearly, certainly, and explicitly explain what He did and what happened, right? We already did Surah Nisa with you. Here Allah Ta'ala is explaining the way He shared that plan with Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. So this ayat, verse number 55, this must be understood in light of the ayah Surah Nisa, verse number 157. All right, I showed you that ayat of Surah Nisa. Inshallah, we'll do a bit more detail when we come to Surah Nisa. But this is what you call Tafseerul Quran bil Quran, that you have to understand all the ayat in light of one another. So now this ayat, verse number 55 that is coming here in Surah Al Imran, what Allah Ta'ala says here is that what he did. And here Allah Ta'ala is explaining that makar, right? Wa makarullah, that what was the plan? So what does Allah Ta'ala say? That inni mutawaffiqa, that O Isa alayhi salam, O Isa, indeed I will take you. Now what does this mean? This one word mutawaffiqa is where many people misunderstand. And this is where what I mentioned, the rationalist and the progressives, modernists and reformists, as well as the Qadiani, they take this one word and use it against all the ayat that I mentioned, right? Mutawaffiqa, if you look at this in Urdu, it sounds like wafat, like death. And many of these people, they're writing in Urdu. So because they write in Urdu, they translate the ayat as saying that, O Isa, I will cause you to die. Wafat. Now the question is that does this word only mean death in that sense in the Arabic language? And this is another thing that you need to understand. Urdu and Arabic, they're two separate languages. So we should try to understand the word in the Arabic language, not the Urdu language. So this is the question to ask the Arabic linguists, right? That does this word only mean mutawaffiqa? Does it only mean death in that sense in the Arabic language? And the Arabic linguists will tell you, and they don't necessarily have to be Muslims. Many Arabic lexicons and dictionaries have been written by non-Muslims, by Christian authors. Any dictionary, any classical Arabic dictionary that you look at, you will find that the answer to this question is no. In Arabic language, the word mutawaffiqa, tawaffa, it means that you take up completely. That's the linguistic meaning of this term. That you take up completely, or you give a compensation that is complete. In fact, this word yuwaffiqa, it comes other places as well in the Quran, which means that Allah Ta'ala will give you your full due. Yuwaffiqa, that you do some amal for the sake of Allah, Allah will give you your full due, will give it to you completely, give the badla completely. Like for example, uh, maybe this ayat is actually coming as well. Right? That you will be, if you do good deeds, if you spend in the path of Allah, do good deeds, then Allah Ta'ala will give you, yuhafiqa, will give you your full due. That will be there in the court of Allah Ta'ala. So it can just mean that you will be taken up completely. In Arabic language, that is what it means, that inni mutawaffiqa, that O Isa, you will be taken up completely. And even, so this is first point to remember about this word, what it means linguistically. And then second, even if it means that we will bring you death, if you want to take the Urdu, even if you want to say that this word means death and means that we will bring you death, what Allah Ta'ala is saying here is that inni means I will give you death. I am the one who can bring you death. They can't touch you. They will not be able to touch you. And how are they not going to touch you? Because I am going to bring you up. وَرَافِئُكَ إِلَيَّ. The next word. وَرَافِئُكَ إِلَيَّ. That I am going to raise you up to myself. I am the one who will cause you to death, cause you to die, not them. And I'm not going to allow them to touch you because I'm going to raise you up to me. So even if you take the second interpretation, here also it works. And then especially when you read the other ayat of the Quran, where clearly Allah Ta'ala mentions that wama qataluhu, wama qataluhu, yani they did not kill him, kill Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. Wama salabuhu, they did not crucify Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, rather they killed someone else who resembled. So when you put everything together, when you do tafsirul Quran bil Quran, read ayat in light of other ayat, then also it seems to work. So then, the Quran leaves no room whatsoever. And this is why believing that Sayyidina Isa alayhi salatu wasalam has been raised up alive by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and was not killed, this is part of Quran and this is a necessary belief of Islam. And then third thing, وَمُطَهِّرُكَ مِنَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, and we will purify you from those who disbelieve. We will purify you from those who disbelieve. So now the fact that Sayyidina Isa alayhi salatu wasalam is going to come back to the earth, this number one is mentioned here in the Quran, and I explained here, like we said, the two ayat, Surah Al Imran and Surah Nisa. Second thing is that this belief is mentioned in so many ahadith that we call it's mutawatir ahadith. Mutawatir. Mutawatir ahadith means that the number of such ahadiths are there's so many, they're so numerous that it is impossible for all of them to collude on a lie. And mutawatir ahadith, if a person rejects a mutawatir ahadith, it's like rejecting something which is an established part of your deen. Just like Quran is certain, in the same way mutawatir hadith, there are many other gradations of hadith. This is the super strongest hadith, mutawatir. And denial of this can take a person even outside the folds of Iman in Islam. So there are mutawatir ahadith about this particular issue that talk about the return of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. These ayat, these ahadiths are all authentic. And all these ahadiths, they explain this Quran further. This explanation, which Allah Ta'ala is saying, that I will be the one to bring you to death. Right? Inni mutawaffika. I will bring you death, but right now, I'm going to raise you up to me. So what's going to happen in between is that these ahadith marka they mention that Sayyidina Isa alayhi salatu wasalam is going to come back to this earth. And he's going to then reach that age of 40, which is called adulthood or maturity. And then he will still speak to people. And he's going to be taught the Quran. He's going to be taught the Sharia of Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. And he's going to preach the Sharia of Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. When Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam will come, when he's going to come back, he's going to return to this earth, he will come back not as a Nabi, but rather he will come back as an ummati of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He will come back as an ummati of the Prophet ﷺ and will preach and teach the Sharia of Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. And then eventually Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam is going to lead the true believers on earth in that final battle. And he's going to be the leader of that final group of people who will then defeat Dajjal. And then after Dajjal will be killed and defeated, then there will be a time when there will be only Muslims on the face of this earth. Only Muslims. And that will be the most barakat time. There will be so much barakah on earth at that time. And then Sayyidina Isa al-Islam will die a natural death. And the ulama, they mention that he will be buried in the Rawda Mubarak, in that place, in that hujra where the Prophet ﷺ is resting. And that's another topic for another time. But that's what we know about Sayyidina Isa alayhi salatu wassalam, and that is our iman, and that is absolutely required part of our iman. And it doesn't befit anyone to try to change that. Right? With what reason would you want to come up with a new and a novel tafsir? For whatever reason, right? People are doing this or they want to spread this. This it doesn't befit anyone. They try to change this fundamental core required aspect of our iman, which is established through the Quran and mutawatir ahadith mubarakah. So we should pray for hidayah for everyone, that may Allah Ta'ala give hidayah, and may Allah Ta'ala give hidayah to those who have this position that Nauzubillah Sayyidina Isa will not come back. May Allah Ta'ala give, it's unfortunate. And I think all of us should be scared about this, that how the audacity for someone to come up with a new tafsir that goes against 1400 years of scholarship, and especially tafsir which is concerning the Anbiya alayhi salatu wassalam. And here we're not talking about worldly rules or ahkam or laws, we're talking about belief, aqidah, concerning Anbiya alayhi salatu wassalam. That's a very sensitive and a very delicate area to go into. إذ قال الله يا عيسى إني متوفيك ورافعك إلي ومطهرك من الذين كفروا وجائل الذين اتبعوك فوق الذين كفروا إلى يوم القيامة. And will make those who follow you, yani those who will follow you in submitting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those who will affirm your nabuwat, will make them above. Fawqa will make them above. الذين كفروا, those who disbelieve in you. And this is an ishara to the Jews, that Allah Ta'ala will make those who follow you, yani the Muslims and the Christians, above those who disbelieve you in you until the day of Qiyamah. Yani Allah Ta'ala is saying that I will make those who follow you, so again the true Sahaba of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, I will make them triumphant over the disbelievers until the end of time. So it means that whenever they were true Christians, so Allah Ta'ala gave them triumph. And this is something you can also look at historically. If you look at the history of Christianity, even though they say that Sayyidina Isa was killed and crucified, and according to us, Sayyidina Isa was lifted up alive to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Either way, when you remove Sayyidina Isa from the scene after him, what happened historically? Christianity did become the dominant religion in world civilization. For about 500 or 600 years, it was all Christianity. So this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, that they're thinking that they slayed you or their attempt in slaying you, this is not going to achieve their maqsad, right? They want to slay you because they want to become triumphant, the Jews, right? They want to be over you. They want to have domination over you. That's their goal, but they will not be able to attain their goal, because their goal was to eliminate you, eliminate Christianity, and keep their Judaic civilization and religion alive. What happens, however, that the Christian civilization becomes dominant on the earth. And that is what happened historically from the time of Sayyidina Isa al-Islam for the next 500 or 600 years. And then Allah Ta'ala says that Summa ilayya marji'ukum, then you will, all of you will return back to me. Ilayya, to me will all of you return. And when all of you will return to me, yani the Muslims, the Christians, the Jews, all of you will return to me. فَأَحْكُمُ بَيْنَكُمْ فِيمَا كُنْتُمْ فِيهِ تَخْتَلِفُونَ. Then I will judge, I will decide between you about those things in which you used to do ikhtilaf, in matters of aqidah, in matters of deen, So here Allah Ta'ala is addressing the Christians, the Jews, the Ahle Kitab, the Mushrikeen in Makkah, and the Mu'mineen, that everyone is going to go back to Allah, and then there Allah Ta'ala will decide our ikhtilafat concerning deen and our aqidah. And then, as for those, فَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, that as for those people who disbelieved, فَأُعَذِّبُهُمْ عَذَابًا شَدِيدًا فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ, that those who disbelieved in Allah, Allah will inflict an incredibly severe punishment on them in this world and in the akhirah. This is the first time this adhab is being mentioned in this dunya. All of us are fine with the fact that they will be punished in akhirah, right? But they will also be punished in this dunya. Now, wallahu alam, what exactly will be the form of that punishment in this world? Allah knows best. But one form of that punishment could be that because of this disbelief, they will be deprived of the itminan of iman. They will be deprived of that contentment which comes with true iman. They'll be deprived of that tranquility of iman, that sweetness of iman. They will be deprived of the purity of iman. They'll be deprived of the spiritual joys and happiness that comes with iman. عذابا شديد في الدنيا والآخرة وما لهم من ناصرين, and they will have no helpers. They will have, we did this before, right? That they will have no one to help them. There will be no one to intercede on their behalf. No one whatsoever. وَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, but as for those people who believe, so this is again the uslub of the Quran, right? That first, here Allah Ta'ala spoke about those who disbelieve, now the believers. Those who believe, وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, and they did righteous deeds. They worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They did right actions. Then وَيُوَفِّيهِمْ, again you have this word coming up, yuwaffi. What does it mean? That they will be given completely ujurahum, their ajr. They will be given their ajr completely by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you see that's a similar yuwaffihim. There you had the word mutawaffiqa. So mutawaffiqa could also mean that you will be given completely your reward with me. In other words, don't worry that your mission of Nabuwwat was suspended because the people tried to kill you and I pulled you up. No, you will be given the complete reward of being a complete Nabi. And the true followers of yours, they will be ghalib, they will be dominant over the unbelievers. Christianity will prevail. Because there was this original pure Christianity at that time, it did prevail after Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. So this word Arabic is very important for you to understand Quran, right? Otherwise a person can make such mistakes. So Allah Ta'ala says that those who had iman, did righteous deeds, وَيُوَفِّيهِمْ أُجُورَهُمْ, He will give them their full rewards, the rewards in full. وَاللَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الظَّالِمِينَ, Allah does not love the wrongdoers, the zalimin. And this is an ayat again we should always think about, that Allah does not love those people who do zulm. What is zulm? Zulm is that you do not fulfill the right of things or of people. You don't fulfill their rights. It's a very vast, all-encompassing term. So you have certain rights towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't discharge those rights. Your responsibilities towards Allah, that's zulm. Then you have a certain relationship with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We don't live up to that relationship, that's zulm. Then we have certain responsibilities, obligations towards individuals, our parents, our spouse, our children, our relatives, our neighbors, our fellow citizens, fellow human beings. And if we don't give them the right that they deserve, that's zulm. And Allah does not love zulm. So if we want to get the love of Allah, we need to remove zulm from our life. Otherwise, it's not possible that on one hand we're asking Allah, give us your love, increase us in your love, and on the other we continue in our activities of zulm, doing zulm on ourselves, doing zulm to other people. We do zulm on ourselves by sinning against Allah. We do zulm on other people by not giving them their rights. This is all zulm. That's why one dua that we should frequently recite, it's mentioned in the Quran, the dua of Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam, Rabbana dhalamana anfusana. Any the Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam would acknowledge this about themselves, even though they're masoom, innocent, that we have done zulm on ourselves. فَغْفِرْ لَنَا فَإِن لَمْ تَغْفِرْ لَنَا وَتَرْحَمْنَا لَنَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam also made a similar dua. Rabbi inni zalamtu nafsi zulman kathiran. Allah, I have wrong, done zulm on myself, a zulm, big zulm. Faghfirli, forgive me. فَإِنَّهُ لَا يَغْفِرُ الذُّنُوبَ إِلَّا أَنْتَ. So on one hand, we should try to remove zulm from our life. And if we fall short, then we should make this dua very humbly, not in an arrogant way, but with ajazi, with humility, present ourselves before Allah. That Allah, truly I've wronged myself. Truly I've oppressed myself. I've bruised myself. And Allah, if you don't forgive us and you don't have mercy over us, then Allah, I'll be amongst the lost ones. I will never be able to get your muhabbat, never be able to attain your love. So Allah, I ask you that you shower me with that maghfirah and rahmah and take me out of my zulm. Another way our mashayikh, they teach us that another way we can make dua is that when we do zulm on ourselves, so we are zalim, but we are also mazloom. And the dua of a mazloom is accepted very readily in the court of Allah. So we can use that also to make dua that Allah, even though we have done zulm, but we are also mazloom. And Allah, we are asking you, we are making dua to you that Allah, remove this zulm from our life and accept this dua from us. Forgive us and shower rahmat upon us. So inshallah, when we have this fikr, it's a long project, but it starts with the fikr that this zulm is not a good thing. Zulm is keeping me away from Allah. This zulm is something which needs to go. And when a person gets that fikr, that concern, then they can develop an intention. They can make a conscious intention. And then they can start acting and working to fulfill that intention. But we need to have that fikr, that concern should be there, that worry should be there, that this zulm is stopping me on this path of attaining the closeness of Allah Ta'ala. And I have to remove this zulm. So may Allah Ta'ala save us, save all of us from this zulm. And may Allah Ta'ala shower us with His rahmat and maghfirat. ذَلِكَ نَتْلُوهُ عَلَيْكَ مِنَ الْآيَاتِ وَالذِّكْرِ الْحَكِيمِ. These are from the verses, and now this is being addressed to the Prophet ﷺ, that, oh Muhammad ﷺ, this is what we recite to you. ذَلِكَ نَتْلُوهُ عَلَيْكَ. This is what we recite to you from our verses, وَذِكْرِ الْحَكِيمِ, and from our wise advice. That inna masala Isa indallahi kamasali Adam. That indeed the example of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam to Allah is like that of Sayyidina Adam alayhi salatu wassalam. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is explaining to the Christians, because what happened here is that there were two priests of Najran who came to the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet ﷺ invited them towards Islam, and they said that no, we are already Muslim. So the Prophet ﷺ said that no, that you're lying. the two of you are lying because uh, you are worshipping the cross. You ascribe children to Allah Ta'ala. So in response, these priests, they asked the Prophet ﷺ that, okay, then who is the father of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam? And the Prophet ﷺ, he waited for this ayat, and this was the occasion when this ayat was revealed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in this ayat, Allah Ta'ala gave the reply that inna masala Isa in the Allahi kamasali Adam. So they would, when they asked that who is the father, we say that God was his father, and Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam was the son of Allah. We say is the son of God. And you also say that he had no father. So who was his father then? So here Allah Ta'ala is answering that look, he's just like Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam. Just like you don't say Adam alayhi salam's mother was God or his father was God, you don't call Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam son of God, because the Christians, they don't call him son of God, right? So Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam is just like that as well. He is a direct creation of Allah Ta'ala. This is one of the most logical, sensible answers, right? And we did this before. Allah Ta'ala khalaqahu min turabin. Allah Ta'ala created Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam from dust. And in the same way, Allah Ta'ala created Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam also. So when this comes, the word turab here means dust or earth. And it means, if you look at what the earth is made up of, you have your multivitamins, right? There is the zinc and magnesium, copper, calcium, etc. The human body, it's made up of these things which are found in the earth. And that's also one of the reasons why you're buried in the earth. You go back to the earth. We come from the earth, we go back to the earth. So summa qala lahu kun fayakun. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, be, and he was. So simple, a command was addressed to Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam, be, and you become. So just like that, something similar, that is how Allah Ta'ala created Sayyidina Isa alayhi salatu wasalam as well. That kun fayakun. And because of this, Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam is also known as Kalimatullah, as the kalima of Allah, because he was created directly by this kalima kun of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-haqqu min rabbik. Al-haqqu min rabbik, and absolute truth, it comes from your Lord. فَلَا تَكُمْ مِنَ الْمُمْتَرِينَ. So don't be amongst the people who doubt. Sometimes we have in mafia movies this phrase that people use, that this is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So your worldly knowledge and different ideologies and isms, they can give you partial truth, and they can sometimes give you a lot of partial truths. But if you want to get the truth and the whole truth and nothing but the truth, then al-haqqu min rabbik, that can only come from your Lord. فَلَا تَكُمْ مِنَ الْمُمْتَرِينَ فَمَنْ حَاجَّكَ فِيهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَكَ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ. Then whoever argues with you about it after this knowledge has come to you. فَمَنْ حَاجَّكَ, that whoever does jhagda with you, whoever disputes with you. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that these people, the Najran, the Christians, they actually came, a delegation came, and they were disputing with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this delegation comprised of 60 Christians from Najran. And among them 14 were very noble, very Sayyid, yani the chief. So they came addressing the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and so Allah Ta'ala says here that when they come to you, whoever disputes with you concerning this after knowledge has come to you, then faqul, say to them تعالوا ندعو أبناءنا وأبناءكم ونساءنا ونساءكم. That come. So just tell them ta'alu, that you should come. Let us call our sons and your sons. Nisa'ana wa nisa'akum. Our women and your women. Yani our children and your children will come and call your women folk, and we will bring our women folk. Wa anfusana wa anfusakum. And let's call ourselves and yourselves. And then what should we do? Summa nabtahil. And then we will supplicate together earnestly. And we will all gather together and we will engage in dua. This in Arabic is called mubahala. Nabtahil, from this we have the word mubahala. It's like a contestation through dua. That if they still, yani Allah Ta'ala is saying that if they still dispute Allah Ta'ala, then Allah Ta'ala is telling the Prophet that you give them this challenge. Yani, in other words, if you will, tell the Christians, give them this challenge, that let's all get together. The Prophet is saying that me, my abana, my sons, and my children, and my women, yani the people of my family, my household folk, I will gather them, and you gather yours. And let's all of us come together. And when we'll come, what will we do? We will nabtahil, we will supplicate, make dua earnestly, and فَنَجْعَلْ لَعْنَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَى الْكَاذِبِينَ. And we will invoke the curse, the la'nat of Allah upon the liars who are among us. We'll both make dua to Allah Ta'ala, that which one of us is right and whomsoever is wrong. So what should happen to that person? May Allah Ta'ala's curse. In other words, may Allah Ta'ala remove His mercy from those who are lying. So this is called mubahala. Now, in Tafseer Ibn Kasir, it's mentioned that a delegation of 60 Christians, they came to the Prophet ﷺ. 14 were the main leaders. One leader, his name was Aqib. And they rode to Medina Munawwara after Asr Salah, when the Prophet ﷺ was still in the masjid. And then the three of the leaders, they spoke to the Prophet ﷺ about their false belief and they said that Sayyidina Isa ﷺ was the son of God. And because they wouldn't listen, so the Prophet ﷺ then challenged them for mubahala. And the method of mubahala is clearly mentioned. So the group of the Christians, then they did this mashwara with one another. They discussed and said that how do we respond to this challenge, right? What should we do? And then one of the person whose name was Abdul Masih, the slave of Masih, because they actually believe in this, right? That's why in our deen it's unlawful. You can't keep a name like Abdul Nabi or Abdul Rasul. It's not jaiz, right? So then that person, this Abdul Masih, he told that Christian group who was consulting that you know very well that the Prophet system is the true messenger of Allah Ta'ala. So Abdul Masih, this Christian, he told them that you know that the Prophet is the true messenger of Allah, and that whatever he says about Sayyidina Isa al-Islam is true. And you are also well aware of the fact that none survived of any nation that challenged their own prophet. So if you want to disgrace yourself, then go accept this challenge. But if you want to just go back with safely and soundly and keep practicing your deen, that whatever you're doing, you want to return to your cities, then just do sulah with the Prophet. Just do sulah, make a truce, decline this challenge. So what happened is that the Prophet the following morning, the Prophet came to Masjid al-Nabi, and he was sitting with Sayyidina Hussein radiallahu ta'ala on his lap, and Sayyidina Hasan radiallahu ta'ala was on his arm, And Amma Fatima radiallahu ta'ala anha and Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala anha, they were behind the Prophet sallallahu. And the Prophet sallallahu was instructing his family members to say Ameen after the dua. So when the Christians, when they saw this sight, so they said that we will not be able to accept this challenge. They came and they declined this challenge and said that Ya Rasul, we decided that we'll decline your challenge and we will be unable to fight with you. So we just want to make truce with you, that we'll pay you whatever needs to be paid, and we'll just want to go back and continue to remain upon our own deen, and you can remain on your own deen. So that's what they said, that we decline this challenge, we leave you to your deen, and we want to remain upon our deen. We'll return back to our place and we'll go back. So then the Prophet let them go back, and that's it, right? So that actually shows that their own leaders and their own scholars weren't so convinced about their own belief. They knew that the Prophet was the true messenger, and whatever he's saying about Sayyidina Isa is true. So that is why here Allah Ta'ala says, Inna hadha lahu al qasasul haq, that indeed this is the true narration. These are the true events, the real stories. وَمَا مِنْ إِلَهٍ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. There is no ilah, there is no God except Allah. وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَهُوَ الْعَزِيزُ الْحَكِيمُ. And indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is almighty, He is all-wise. فَإِن تَوَلَّوْا. But if they turn away, then فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ عَلِيمٌ بِالْمُفْسِدِينَ. And if they turn away, if they turn their back, then Allah Ta'ala is all-knowing of the people who are spreading fasad. It means that if they don't truly believe what they're saying, they just came here to cause a problem. That's fasad. And this happens, right? Sometimes they don't truly believe what they're saying. Their intention is not the truth. Their intention is just to create a fasad. And this can happen to you as well, right? Any one of us. That sometimes a person comes to you and they're just saying things, saying something to test you, saying something to provoke you, saying something to antagonize you, but they don't even really believe it to be true themselves. So the Quran is calling that word fasad, and calling such people mufsideen. These are people of fasad, and Allah knows. Allah is well. فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ عَلِيمٌ بِالْمُفْسِدِينَ. And then قُلْ يَا أَهْلَ الْكِتَابِ. And this is a very famous ayah, that O people of kitab, O people of scripture. Qul, that say, O people of scripture, ta'alaw, come to ila kalimatin, come to a word, sawa'im baynana wa baynakum, that is common between us and you. So after mentioning all of this, now again Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is extending His mercy. Again Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is extending His mercy, His rahmat, and telling the Prophet ﷺ to tell the Ahle Kitab that why don't you come and join us on common things, on shared things that we agree upon. And let's at least first start with the things that we agree upon. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us a very important lesson, how to resolve our disputes. And the first thing that we are being taught here is that at least come to terms on those things that we agree upon. You can call this the common word, or you want to, extending the areas where you agree, because you won't be able to agree on everything. But let's just try to extend the areas on which we can agree. Work together on those areas where we agree. When you expand the horizons of things that you agree upon, then you can more successfully manage and negotiate the matters of disagreement. So at least come to those areas where all of us we agree about, and let's try to expand, right, those regions of agreement, and then you will be better be able to navigate and negotiate the matters of disagreement. So this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying to the Prophet to tell them that let's come to a common ground, common word between us and you. And what is that common word? Allah na'budu illallah. That we will not worship except Allah. That we will not worship except Allah. Wala nushrika bihi shay'a. And we will not associate anything with him. وَلَا يَتَّخِذَ بَعْدُنَا بَعْدًا أَرْبَابًا مِنْ دُونِ اللَّهِ. And we will not take one another as our lords or uh, uh, instead of Allah Ta'ala. And we will not take someone as our lords, as our rabbis and monks other than Allah, leaders among than Allah, leaders other than Allah. فَإِن تَوَلَّوْا. But if they turn away, فَقُولُوا, then say to them that أَشْهَدُوا بِأَنَّا مُسْلِمُونَ, bear witness that we have surrendered to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are Muslims. We have submitted ourselves to Him. So what happened here is that the Christians, they do not accept this, because in some sense also they kind of do worship of Ghairullah. They worship Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. So they were doing a kind of shirk, so they didn't accept this. So then they parted, and that was the end of that. Incidentally, this ayat, verse number 64, is also something which was used in the aftermath of 9/11, where many Muslim scholars from different regions of the world, they wrote a letter, which is actually called a common word, where they tried to reach out to the Christians, and they they used this ayah as a way to, again, which is the first thing that we're learning, the how to resolve our disputes. The first thing is, let's just try to come to terms on things that all of us agree about, right? That we believe in Allah, we worship Allah, and we will not ascribe any partners to Allah. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give all of us tawfiq, that we can implement these lessons and teachings of the Quran. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the halawat of Iman, the sweetness of Iman, and yaqeen in our Iman. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala beautify us with the sifat of taqwa and make us amongst the muttaqeen. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.